Hi, it's Chatty Abby here today with Jeremy. We're going to be talking about Batman the Animated Series again, round 2. This time I've seen some of it, so we'll get a little bit more of my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, last time it was kind of just me talking about why I like the show, but I put the recommendations in the description and I just decided to show Abigail those episodes and she got really into the show. And so she'd like to talk about why she loves the show so much because turns out my recommendations really get people into the show.
I watched the first category and I wanted to talk about that before I got too far into the second category because I had lots of thoughts. I got really into it. I got grabbed, I got raptured. I loved all these characters. Did I just say I got raptured? That's not a thing. Enraptured. The first one we watched was Catwoman. Is that right?
First one we watched that you loved was Catwoman.
Okay, we could just start there.
Okay, yeah.
Because I loved that. I've seen Catwoman a lot. I've seen it on people wearing Catwoman costumes. I've heard her referenced a lot. But I don't think I've ever really seen her in anything that I actually liked.
Oh, right. I was about to say, so she was in The Dark Knight Rises, but I didn't really like Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises.
Not my favorite. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, the first thing that really upset me about The Dark Knight Rises Catwoman is that he was all wimpy and crippled at that point. She walks into his house and beats him up and steals his stuff. Batman to me at that point was larger than life and powerful, but not superhuman powerful, just a powerful human. And I thought that was so cool. And then to have this thin little snotty girl come and beat him up was just heartbreaking to me. And I was like, why would you do that? And I just was not a fan of the whole thing. I didn't actually like that whole movie.
Right.
So I was like, why does anybody like Catwoman? Also, Catwoman. I don't know. Just that alone. And then the costume. And I'm like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Ant-Man. The first time I heard Ant-Man, I was like, what? But then when it was a joke character, it made a lot of sense. And then I got really, really fond of Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. And he turns into an ant. And then really, really big. And then he takes a nap. It was hilarious. I loved that. Mm-hmm. Being a Catwoman is it's a thing in real world.
Okay, you mean like a cat lady?
Cat lady. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing that's the picture that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. Which I think is great. In Batman the Animated Series, they introduce Catwoman, and she takes a cat with her on her heists.
Yeah.
And the cat helps, and Batman saves the cat. And she goes home, and she has a bunch of cats. So she's actually a cat lady. And she thinks she's a cat. She references things it's the cat in me. And what else does she say?
No one's gonna put Kitty back in the pound.
She refers to herself as Kitty and Cat. So she's a little
crazy. But
in a super sexy, hot way. She's so cool. And she's dangerous and really, really cool and a cat lady. I just think that's so funny because being a cat lady is not synonymous. Is that the correct word? Mm-hmm. Is not synonymous with being sexy. Mm. Being a cat lady means nobody wants you. So you got a bunch of cats instead.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But that's not her at all. She just really likes cats. Yeah. And then she steals things and then donates the money to cat things. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Okay. Don't love how they did her hair. Mm-hmm. I think she looks better in her cat costume than she does in the regular life. I love how they drew her, except how they colored her hair. Because it's just, I don't like that color blonde. And I just feel it's a lot. And if they had done a darker color or were better with their yellows, she could have looked better. Mm. But I love how Batman and Bruce deal with her too. They're just kind of oh. So he swings in and saves her at one point. The second time they meet in the second one. And he's like, got her, and he's swinging in the air, and she just reaches up and just starts kissing him, like, Batman, and just like kisses him. And I'm just like, I laughed so hard. I thought that was the best thing ever. Batman's like, like, you can't really startle Batman in this, especially in this show. Mm-hmm. I like Batman so much better in this show too. I feel like he's a more stable character. Referencing what I talked a lot last time about how Batman's not stable and all this stuff. Batman's so much more sane in this portrayal, even than in The Dark Knight. I thought he's like a very steady character who's like, I'm here to help, and it kind of feels more like a task force. Like I like a lot of cop shows, and there's cop shows where people are like tasked with like tracking down serial killers in particular, or murderers in general, and so they're just like constantly dealing with murders, and it never goes away. That's the Criminal Minds. Yeah, that's the one with the serial killers. So they're like specifically a specialized force in like the most crazy violent people, and they go around the whole nation like dealing with that. And in this one, it feels more like Batman's kind of like that. Like it's like he's like a therapist or a policeman, or kind of a combination there of those, that's just dealing with the criminal element, trying to make a difference and keep people safe all the time. Right. Versus what I was saying before, where it's a Batman that's just beating his head against the wall. I'm gonna fix everything. It's something that can't be fixed, if that makes sense. Loved Catwoman. I thought she was so amazing, and I love that she didn't like Bruce Wayne, and thought Batman was so great. Batman, and oh hi Bruce. Yeah, I guess I'll go out with you. Whatever.
It's kind of like in Miraculous, where Marinette is in love with Adrian but doesn't like Cat Noir.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think they were kind of playing at that whole relationship based off of Batwoman and Catwoman.
Oh,
Batman
you think
and
so?
I think so.
It is really similar because she has like so little patience for Cat Noir, where she's just like, ugh. But he's so like jockey and dumb and cocky when he's Cat Noir, and he's so much like down to earth as himself as Adrian.
In the same way, when Bruce is Batman, he's very confident and very direct and very authoritative. When he's Bruce, he's kind of falling all over himself, getting embarrassed by stuff.
Yeah, and then also, he's the rich playboy or whatever, and he doesn't want anybody to know his secret identity, so he keeps his physicality and a lot of his other strengths kind of under wraps, so that nobody can put those two together. Right. And then she's kind of like, another rich guy wants to take me out. Whatever. But then when she's the bat, and he swings in, and she's like, no more stealing for you, kitty. Anyway, I was completely shocked that I liked Catwoman. Not only did I like her, but I was just like obsessed with her. I was like, man, if I hadn't seen this when I was younger, I would have wanted to be Catwoman for Halloween. That level of like, she's awesome. The very first thing, she like climbs up the wall, and then she gets to the window, and she goes with her little claws, and the window just like, it doesn't even make a noise. It just like butter, and it just like cuts underneath her like little razors, and she pulls it out. She goes, okay, kitty. He goes in and gets the jewels. I was like, that is so cool. Like, I don't know why, but that just was so cool for me. Anyway, do you have any thoughts on those episodes?
Not really. I mean, I mostly picked those episodes just because they introduced Catwoman, and because Catwoman is one of the villains that Bruce kind of struggles to try to reform throughout the show.
I love that Batman liked her both ways too. He liked her as the thief, and then he really liked her as the person who spent the money on the cat things or whatnot. Yeah, that was funny. And then they were solving the issue with the cat reserve together in both different identities too. Yeah. Because they went to talk to the businessmen as themselves, and then they each broke in later to like find Red Claw and do da-da-da-da-da. Although she wasn't really a part of the Red Claw thing, but she was like, I'm gonna figure out what's going on.
Well, she does help him stop Red Claw.
Yeah, but he was there looking for Red Claw, and she was there looking for
evidence against the company.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the third time they go back. when they get captured. At that point, they're trying to take down Red Claw together.
Right, they are. Yeah. Right, because I was talking about the previous episode. Was it the previous episode or earlier that episode?
I don't remember. I kind of mixed the two episodes together. I don't know what happens
Yeah.
It's all the same story.
Because he's like going out at like, so they go during the day together, and then at night they both go out in their secret identities, and he's trying to figure out who Red Claw is, and like attacking mobsters, going, "Tell me about Red Claw," and she's breaking in to like look at the plans where the cat sanctuary would be, while Red Claw's having a meeting in the other room.
Right.
Anyway, so that's the part I was referencing. But then they do take Red Claw down together. Well, they show up though separately.
They do, but I'm saying after they get captured, they're working together.
They are, yeah. And they're there for different reasons, but they're kind of like, they end up all in the same situation. Super cool. I like it a lot. And then I guess we could just continue with her story, because then the third episode you have is, it brings in the ventriloquist again.
Right.
So she's gone straight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I also thought was really cool, because like Batman like is like head over heels in love with her. And then he turns her in anyway.
Yep.
Because his morals and all that.
And at this point, she has already gone to court, and sort of like with the whole Clayface thing, you can stay out on parole as long as you don't put on your Catwoman costume anymore. And the episode starts off with her just pitying herself, saying, "Woe is me, I can't go out as Catwoman anymore."
And so she's at a fundraiser just kind of angry because she's lost herself. And she's in jail, just in regular life, not being able to be Catwoman. They don't take their costumes away. It's so funny because like the court, that's got to be a Gotham thing. Yes, you can be released as long as you don't wear the costume. You may be released and not go to jail as long as you never wear red again. Like, I don't know, it's such a random thing. So Bruce is trying to like hit on her at this thing, and she's too sad. And then the ventriloquist shows up and frames her, uses her as a decoy, and very easily gets her to go back into crime. It wasn't that hard.
I also like how they have the villains interact with one another, because Catwoman is kind of a bit more of a serious villain, and then you pair her up with the ventriloquist, and she just bursts out laughing at the entire concept of the ventriloquist.
Well, because she gets, she's like, "Wait, what? You're talking through the puppet? Like..."
"Oh no, Mr. Scarface is very serious. He doesn't deal with any disrespect."
Okay. It's a perfect plan. You'll never get caught. And then I was like looking at the plan, and it was like, break into the museum, steal the jewels, get out. And it was like, that's what she does all the time anyway. So, I mean, it's not like she got much out of that exchange.
Well, I think he gave her like the schematics of the museum, so she would know exactly where to go in and
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Schematics and like when the guards change, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because they sort of showed the guards doing his rounds, like, "Oh yeah, there's that exhibit," and she was like in another room after he'd already checked that one.
And then he uses that as a cover to steal an animal, a stuffed animal.
You know
An
how
exotic
they do,
stuffed animal.
what's it called? Taxidermy.
A taxidermied animal. Yeah.
Because it was the museum where one of Bruce's rich friends had all their grandfather's taxidermy stuff, so it was really valuable.
Yeah, because they're extinct, and so you can't get them anymore, or something like that. Then her and Batman are working together again, because she's gonna go take down the ventriloquist to set her up. And then, of course, Batman's there going, "Let's figure out what's going on." And they go, and yeah, I really liked her involved with that too, because she threw the puppet into a saw. And yeah, she's a very serious contender, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was all the Catwoman episodes. Did you have anything else to say about any of those?
Well, it's just, I liked her so much that after liking her so much, I'm kind of frustrated with what they did in The Dark Knight.
You think you're frustrated with what they did in The Dark Knight? There was an entire Catwoman solo movie that was one of the worst superhero movies to have ever existed.
She was so great. How can you ruin her so thoroughly?
By not going by the source material at all.
Kind of like Avatar.
Yeah.
Greatest cartoon ever. And then they made a live action version.
That's basically the level of difference between Catwoman in the Batman animated series and the Catwoman movie. It's that level of difference.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the only experience I'd really ever had with it, because I'd never really done the cartoons before. So I'd only done like the ones that came on the big screen. And they ruined so many characters.
So I'm just going to give you a little tidbit of the premise of this movie. So Selena Kyle is a random lady working at like a fashion company or something. And she's very timid and very scared of everything. And then she gets like in a serious injury and gets rescued by cats and gets super cat powers from getting rescued by it's nonsense.
She has super cat powers?
It's not. The whole movie is nonsense. It's been so long since I watched it, I don't remember it very well. I'm giving you a description based on my memory. And then she has to stop the CEO of her company, who's an evil businesswoman for some reason, because she's killing people with makeup. I don't remember. But it was an atrocity.
Because that's not what Catwoman's like at all in the cartoon. Is this the original Catwoman in this cartoon?
What do you mean by original Catwoman?
Well, where was she first introduced?
Catwoman's a classic character from the comics.
Right, because comics come first.
Right.
I'm starting to think that, like, the cartoons came first.
However,
I'm going backwards. Like, it's like, here's, like, her, you know, and then, like, back to the original source. Because she, according to the cartoon, from what I gathered, she doesn't have any superpower
No, she
hero.
doesn't.
She doesn't have any superpowers.
No, she doesn't.
She's like Batman, only the woman version. And her a little bit crazy is thinking she's a cat, but like in a cool way versus like a fuddy-duddy way, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know why liking cats goes with being frumpy, but it just kind of does. So, I mean, I think it's just the way the human mind works. Because when I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to meet anybody, I was like, well, I better get a cat. That was kind of like the first place my brain went. And then the cat didn't like me, so I ran away. So then I couldn't be a cat person. So there you go.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? It wasn't in the cards for me. Okay, so who's the next villain we look at?
You also really like the Riddler in this cartoon.
Okay. The animation in this one is amazing until they change it in the third season and it's awful. But they introduced this red-headed character who's the look on his face as he's walking down the hall.
Yeah.
And he's doing a puzzle on the thing. I immediately liked him. From the first scene, I was like, who's that guy? I like him. He's all like, I did a crossword puzzle. And I was like, yes! That's amazing. I loved him the very, very first second I saw him. And then I was a little bit sad when I realized he was going to be a villain.
Yep.
And that he was the Riddler. Because every experience I have had with the Riddler has been bad. I think my most experience with the Riddler was like the live action Batman where they go pow, bam.
Oh, you mean like,
holy guacamole, Batman?
So the Adam West Batman, so like the one from the 40s?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've even seen a whole episode
And he
of that.
wears a giant purple hat and he goes, it's a riddle, Batman, can you solve it? And Batman goes, oh, Robin. And then they like solve the riddle and then they go da-da-da-da-da-da, and then they drive and anyway, I think that's like my only experience with the Riddler. And then when I was like, oh, he's the Riddler. Okay. And then I loved it. Oh, it was great. So he's a video game maker. And then like they show the video game that he made and it's top notch. And you're like, wow, video games have changed a lot.
Well, it was 1992.
And he had little riddles in his game and they're like, well, nobody can beat it, but everybody's obsessed with this game and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then he didn't get royalties.
Right.
So then he goes after the guy who stole the game and all the money. That all makes sense, but then after that, he's just the Riddler forever. Because it's like, later episodes, his motivation, he just like got a taste for the dark side, I suppose.
Well, I think it's because he got a taste from the dark side and also because he just became obsessed with Batman. Because he's always been the smartest person that he's ever known. And so he finds Batman, someone who could outsmart him, and he just becomes obsessed. He's like, I have to find a way to become smarter than Batman.
So the first episode, his motivation's really, really clear, and then it seems to just get a little murky for me. But I think he makes a great villain. I was kind of sad that he was going to be a villain at first, and then I was like, no, this is great. He's a great villain. And he does his little puzzles and everything. And I like how low tech the video game is. And then they go to like an amusement park and it's real life. And it's like, I don't think we have the technology to even have an amusement park do that kind of stuff now.
Right.
He had a hand of fate that would just come out of nowhere and scoop people up in real life.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen an amusement park do that.
I guess
A disembodied hand.
I guess you could just have a giant drone, I guess.
Right, we might have the technology to do something like that now. I mean, you could do it if you had it like pulleyed on something or strings or something, or I mean, but like I don't think we even have drones that can carry a whole human because the hand comes in and picks up like a whole human. I don't know. Maybe we do now. It's probably like military grade though. Yeah. Like if they have something that can do that, it's like real expensive. They don't have it at like amusement parks. Also, that'd be a really dangerous amusement ride.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically a death trap. That was its purpose.
You had to suspend belief a little bit for that part, I believe, because he ends up in a death maze with saws that come out, and it's very Indiana Jones, and you have to solve the riddles and blah, blah, blah. And then he shows up on TV screens to go, ho, 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 solve the riddle, Batman. But like, how did he have the time or the money to set something like that up? Didn't seem terribly realistic to me. But they were like, because it's a theme park, so it's already set up. And it's like, yeah, but that's not gonna, you're not gonna have saws come at your patrons at a theme park. So that, so did he add giant saw blades? A saw blade that size has got to cost a certain amount of money.
Well, my theory is, like, they show a time jump between when he got fired and when he became the Riddler. So my theory is he had set up the amusement park as a death trap to further ruin the name of the guy that stole his...
He's like messing up his own game.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he's really smart. So, I mean, he probably could have got the money from doing other crimes. I mean, that's possible. But loved the Riddler as well.
And then in the next episode, he is reformed out of Arkham and has started his partner with another guy to create a really successful toy company.
Yeah, well, I think it was already an established toy company, and then he just brought in a new line of Riddler toys, which were wildly popular.
Right.
But he couldn't be satisfied with that. He already had henchmen and like secret plans going on, and he was gonna steal or get money, or...
I mean, really, it was all just to prove he was better than Batman. That was the only purpose. He didn't need money. He didn't need anything.
Which that motivation made a lot more sense to me, because the Riddler in the Batman...
No, I hated the Riddler in the Batman.
And also, it doesn't make any sense. Solve the Riddler, I'm gonna blow up Gotham! Why, though? Like,
right.
And you just, like, go around with bombs and stuff like that. His motivation and plans made more sense and were more interesting in this one. Yeah. Is that about the Riddler?
Yep, there was only 2 episodes about him.
Yeah, 2 episodes. They established a lot about him, though, in 2 episodes. Pretty good. Who else?
Two-Face. Any thoughts on Two-Face?
I thought they introduced the whole DID thing really, really well. Just the pressures of his job and what he was doing was bringing out his other side more and more. And they referenced that he'd had it from childhood, and that that's when he had kind of split and had incorporated his full personality. And it just now got bad enough that he was working on it. But the pressure was already a lot, and he wouldn't back away from his job to get healthy.
Right.
So he just kind of ends up cracking, and he gets blackmailed, and in the middle of getting blackmailed, then he gets disfigured. Bam. Life ruined. He's now Two-Face. And I like how they do like chaos and order. My life is now a balance, and this side is chaos and that side is order. But the order side does seem mousy and weak and like doesn't seem to have a say at all. It's always Big Bad Harv is the name of and he's the one that flips the coin. Because regular Harvey doesn't need to flip a coin, right?
So The way that Two-Face is in control of the time is because the coin is a way of letting Harvey make decisions. So he's kind of healthier than Harvey is.
Because he's like, okay, whenever it lands on the good side, it's whatever Harvey would do or wants to do.
Right.
Ah, okay.
That's the introduction episode. Did you have any thoughts about the episode where he kidnaps himself?
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna make me not exist. When they go in to do the surgery and they like reference like all this therapy he's been doing, which is what I was saying. I was like, how come there's no like therapy? It's always like jail and this or that. But in this cartoon, they even reference, like, because you're like, well, it's off screen. And like in this one, they like clearly state, this is all we've been doing off screen, you know, and this is the final step. We're gonna do surgery so that he can fully incorporate. And she specifically talked about them working on not needing to flip the coin all the time. The problem is that the things Big Bad Harv wants to do is like really bad illegal stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Because if he was fully incorporated, it could be like, here's my morals, but here's my aggressive side. So like being like fearsome and bold and brave and strong and like all those things, but then also have enough control over yourself to not be doing evil things, you know? So then you can also be gentle and, you know, because like a guy needs to be able to do that. Like a fully incorporated man that would be like a role model is somebody who's can be a protector and can be strong and can, you know, maybe go to war. And like there's all these like needs for that kind of aggression. But then he needs to come home and be soft and gentle and kind with his children and his wife. And, you know, it's like there needs to be two sides to this kind of a guy, you know, like you need to be ruthless in some areas and then soft and gentle in another area. So you kind of need both.
Right.
And you need to be fully incorporated. If you have a guy who's just a complete pushover and can't stand up to anybody, and you know, then he can't protect his family. You know, you can't, like, if like in our society that's not as necessary, but it's like, I don't know, back in the Wild West, or you know, there's places where the world is really dangerous, and like it depends on where you live here in America even, where it's just really dangerous and you need somebody who can protect your family. I don't know how you go about fixing that, but surgery did seem like a good idea, but Big Bad Harv didn't want to do that, so he kidnapped himself, got away, and I can't remember how that episode ends. How did that end?
So it ends because Batman gives Big Bad Harv a trick coin that won't land on heads or tails, and he just becomes obsessed with getting the answer from this coin because it won't land on heads or tails.
Oh yeah.
And he follows it jumping off of a building.
Yeah.
And then Batman saves him, and Batman tells him that he needs to let go of the coin so he can use his hand to pull himself back up.
Yeah, but he won't.
And Big Bad Harv refuses to take any help from Batman, no matter what, even if it's to save his own life.
Yeah.
And so he finally gets through and and Harvey comes out and says, "Batman, help me." But then Big Bad Harv pushes him back down and tries to punch Batman and throws himself off a building, and then Batman has to save him and puts him back into Arkham.
Right. That is how that ends. And he took his quarter away from him that he used. Yeah. You feel kind of bad for Batman at the end of that because Harvey's his friend.
Yeah.
And he wants to help Harvey, but Big Bad Harv is too dangerous and is winning.
Yeah.
So it comes from 30 years of repressing one side and then became too powerful and took over.
Yep.
And now he's winning. So the Justice one, the next one we watched with Two-Face. Now you're getting into 3 phases.
Yep.
Was so funny. The part I really liked was the politician who's like, well, Commissioner Gordon has the bat, so I have the
judge.
The judge, and he's my guy. And yeah, I thought that was really funny because it was just such a political move. Commissioner Gordon actually cares about the community, actually cares about helping people. And so he teams up with Batman because it's the most successful way to
shut down criminals.
Yeah. And then this guy was like, I'm going to get reelected. I'm going to be friends with the judge. And you're like, obviously this is a bad idea. He's obviously a loose cannon and he really hurts people. We don't have any track record with this guy. We don't know what he's going to do.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, tough on crime. And then it turns out he's taking kickbacks and all this stuff. So I feel like the true criminal in that one was that politician. I like how Batman does that, where it's like, here's a bad politician, here's a bad cop, here's a bad criminal, here's a bad crazy person. It's like everybody, you know, there's bad and good people in every
area.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really like that one. I feel like we talked a lot about Two-Face in the past, though, so I don't have much to add to it. I liked seeing the episodes, but I didn't have any new thoughts or anything.
Yep. Okay, that's all the episodes we watched in part 1.
That's everything. I really loved and was very enthralled with each one. I thought you did a good job with your list because I thought it was really good.
Thank you.
Did you have any thoughts having me watch them?
I was very excited to see that my list was successful because I remember trying to watch all the episodes as they were on whatever streaming service I watched them on originally and not being able to get into it. So creating a list of episodes that I liked and having someone else watch them and immediately be enthralled with the show made me very proud that I'd done something right.
Success. Because I was surprised how much I liked a Batman cartoon. I didn't know that was possible for me. But really good. Really good. Thanks for watching, guys.